Welcome aboard our latest journey into the past. Before we hoist the anchor, be sure to subscribe to our channel for more immersive stories from history's darkest depths and brightest legends. Today, we set sail into the tropical waters of the Caribbean, not the Hollywood fantasies of swashbuckling heroes, but the real world of cutthroat privateers, ruthless raiders, and legendary outlaws who carved their names into maritime lore. This is the true story of the real pirates of the Caribbean. Chapter 1. A World in Turmoil. The Birth of Piracy. Piracy's roots lay in the European power struggle of the 16th and 17th centuries, a tumultuous age driven by gold, glory, and God. The New World promised unimaginable riches, and Spain dominated early on, extracting vast treasures of gold from Mexico and silver from Peru. The wealth flowing from the Americas was unprecedented, reshaping Europe's economic landscape and igniting fierce competition among emerging colonial powers. Spanish treasure fleets became legendary, immense floating fortresses, heavily guarded yet still vulnerable in the unpredictable vastness of the oceans. These fleets faced hurricanes, shipwrecks, and relentless attacks by pirates and privateers alike, making every journey perilous. Tales of lost galleons laden with treasure captivated European imaginations, fueling further ambition and greed. Inspired by immense wealth, privateers emerged as key players. Licensed pirates, granted permission by their governments to legally harass enemy ships, effectively becoming instruments of covert warfare. These maritime mercenaries blurred the lines between heroism and criminality, patriotism and greed. England's Sir Francis Drake epitomized this dual identity. To the English, he was a daring explorer and national hero. To the Spanish, a feared pirate and ruthless enemy. Drake's famous circumnavigation of the globe from 1577 to 1580 not only enriched England but humiliated Spain, bolstering England's maritime ambitions and seeding further hostilities. His exploits would inspire countless fictional adventurers in literature and cinema, notably Hollywood's charismatic Captain Blood, 1935, portrayed vividly by Errol Flynn. Privateering grew increasingly popular among European nations eager to chip away at Spanish dominance without openly declaring war. France, the Netherlands, and Portugal followed England's example, commissioning privateers to disrupt Spain's lucrative colonial commerce. These privateers operated under a veneer of legitimacy, their deeds celebrated as patriotic duty, until geopolitical tides shifted. Yet, when peace treaties eventually were signed, these once celebrated privateers found themselves without purpose or income. Trained in plunder and accustomed to wealth and autonomy, many refused to return quietly to ordinary civilian life or naval discipline. Thus began their slippery descent from patriotic privateering into outright piracy, transforming them from heroes in their homeland into feared outlaws across the seas. Chapter 2. The Golden Age. Paradise Lost and Found. Between 1650 and 1730, the Caribbean transformed into a legendary haven for piracy. Political instability, wars between colonial powers, and booming trade routes created a perfect storm. Islands like Jamaica's Port Royal, the Bahamas' Nassau, and Haiti's Tortuga became notorious pirate strongholds, places of lawlessness and unbridled freedom, much like Tortuga depicted vividly in Disney's Pirates of the Caribbean. These pirate havens were more than just dens of thieves. They evolved into independent societies with their own democracies and economies. Crews elected their captains democratically, shared their spoils equally, and followed strict pirate codes. This radical equality starkly contrasted with the rigid hierarchies of traditional naval life. In Port Royal, Jamaica, known as the wickedest city on earth, pirates mingled freely with merchants and aristocrats, thriving in an economy sustained by piracy and illicit trade. Wealth flowed abundantly, fueling lavish lifestyles filled with rum, gambling, and excess, mirroring the hedonistic spirit seen in cinematic portrayals like those in the Pirates of the Caribbean films. Nassau, another infamous pirate haven, served as a strategically crucial base for pirates preying upon shipping lanes laden with European cargo and treasure. It attracted notorious figures like Blackbeard and Calico Jack, offering sanctuary from naval authorities. Tortuga, off the coast of Haiti, epitomized pirate freedom, a chaotic yet vibrant port governed solely by the strength and cunning of its inhabitants. Pirates established their own governance here, a testament to their resilience and independence. This era wasn't merely anarchic. Pirate communities demonstrated surprising orderliness and progressive governance. Pirates adhered strictly to their codes, which detailed consequences for theft among crew, cowardice in battle, or failure to maintain weapons. Punishments were harsh yet fair, designed to ensure unity and cooperation. Pirate councils addressed disputes democratically, and shares of spoils were distributed equitably. In contrast to the oppressive naval hierarchies, pirates found a form of radical liberty at sea, which continues to captivate modern imaginations. The rise of these pirate strongholds alarmed colonial powers, which increasingly viewed piracy not just as a nuisance, but as a genuine threat to economic stability and imperial dominance. This tension set the stage for relentless conflicts and bloody battles, making the Caribbean a volatile region defined by freedom, danger, and rebellion. Chapter 3: Legends of the High Seas. Hollywood introduced us to Captain Jack Sparrow and Hector Barbossa, but reality delivered even more captivating characters. Blackbeard, Edward Teach, became a symbol of terror with his flaming beard and his fearsome vessel, Queen Anne's Revenge. His reputation was meticulously crafted. He wove slow-burning fuses into his thick beard to create a terrifying visage during battles. The blockade of Charleston in 1718, where he demanded medical supplies, solidified his infamy. Blackbeard's life ended dramatically off North Carolina's shores in a fierce naval battle against Lieutenant Robert Maynor, a scene rivaling Hollywood's most epic sea confrontations. Calico Jack Rackham was renowned more for his flamboyant style than his martial prowess. His colorful clothing inspiring the iconic imagery associated with pirates today. However, his crew included the formidable Bonny and Mary Read, women who boldly defied societal norms by disguising themselves as men and fighting fiercely alongside male pirates. Their bravery and defiance during battle became legendary, and their sensational trial in 1720 echoed through history, mirroring powerful female portrayals like Gina Davis's character in Cutthroat Island, 1995. Sir Henry Morgan represents one of piracy's most intriguing paradoxes. Initially a ruthless privateer commissioned by England, Morgan carried out devastating raids on Spanish colonies, notably his infamous capture and sacking of Panama City in 1671. Remarkably, he later transitioned from feared pirate to respected governor of Jamaica, highlighting the fluid moral landscape of the era, a complexity captured vividly in countless cinematic tales. Bartholomew Roberts, Black Bart, arguably the most successful pirate, embodied charisma, discipline, and cunning. Capturing over 400 ships, he was feared and respected in equal measure. Roberts maintained strict discipline aboard his vessels, forbidding gambling and drunkenness, unlike his contemporaries. His death in 1722, during a fierce naval encounter, symbolically marked piracy's decline, ending the careers of many and signaling a shifting tide against piracy's lawless freedom. Chapter 4: Pirate Life, Brutality, and Brotherhood. Contrary to Hollywood glamour, pirate life was harsh, perilous, and brutally short. Disease was rampant aboard ships, with scurvy, dysentery, and malaria claiming more lives than swords or cannonballs ever could. Food spoiled rapidly, fresh water turned rancid, and starvation was a constant shadow that loomed over even the most successful crews. Storms at sea could devastate entire fleets, their fury indiscriminate, shattering masts and plunging sailors into the unforgiving waves. Violent confrontations were frequent and ruthless. Pirates didn't merely battle enemy crews. Internal conflicts could escalate swiftly, settled by fierce duels or swift executions. Betrayal lurked in every alliance. Trust was scarce, and loyalty was often tested by greed and desperation. Cinematic swordplay, romanticized by Hollywood in films like Captain Blood or Pirates of the Caribbean, was in reality brutal, chaotic, and seldom heroic. Yet, within this brutal world, pirate ships paradoxically fostered remarkable equality and camaraderie, rarely seen in contemporary society. Crews were often astonishingly diverse. Former slaves who escaped plantations, deserters fleeing naval brutality, political exiles avoiding persecution, and fortune seekers chasing elusive dreams of wealth and freedom. Together, they created tight-knit brotherhoods, bound by shared hardship and mutual reliance. Pirate codes provided an unprecedented structure, carefully outlining the rights and responsibilities of every crew member. Spoils were divided with surprising fairness, captains typically receiving only slightly larger shares than ordinary sailors. Injury compensation was a radical concept for the era. Pirates who lost limbs or were severely wounded in battle were financially supported by their comrades, a crude form of disability pension, unseen anywhere else at the time. Leadership aboard a pirate ship was fundamentally democratic. Captains were elected by crew vote, often based on courage, navigational skill, and fairness, rather than brute force alone. Decisions, from routes to engagements, were frequently debated openly, providing a sharp contrast to the hierarchical discipline imposed aboard naval or merchant vessels. Weapons defined the harsh practicality of pirate combat. Flintlock pistols were notoriously unreliable, prone to misfire in critical moments. Cutlasses, chosen for their brutal efficiency and close combat aboard crowded decks, delivered messy and devastating wounds. Crude grenades fashioned from bottles filled with gunpowder and iron fragments spoke volumes about pirate resourcefulness and desperation, underscoring a gritty reality far removed from Hollywood's elegantly choreographed battles. Ultimately, pirate life was defined by contradictions: brutality and brotherhood, equality amidst chaos, and fleeting freedom shadowed by relentless danger. This paradoxical existence continues to fascinate us, hinting at humanity's unyielding pursuit of liberty, even in the most desperate and violent circumstances. Chapter 5. Shadow Economies. The Pirate Marketplace. Pirates did more than simply raid ships and hoard treasure. They were active participants in complex shadow economies that flourished throughout the Caribbean and beyond. Ports such as Port Royal, Tortuga, and Nassau operated as thriving hubs where pirates could openly trade stolen goods, from silks, spices, and jewels to weaponry and ship supplies. Merchants and local governors, frequently corrupt, eagerly turned blind eyes, profiting immensely from the steady influx of illicit goods. Rum, a pirate staple immortalized in cinema through Hollywood's iconic Captain Jack Sparrow, was not merely a drink. It served as currency, a tool of negotiation, and even a means of maintaining morale among weary crews. Pirates traded rum barrels in shady deals, used them to bribe port authorities, or simply drowned their fortunes in wild nights of gambling and revelry at taverns infamous for their debauchery. Gambling was another cornerstone of pirate economics, with fortunes changing hands over dice games, cards, and cockfights. Wealth gained from risky ventures could vanish overnight, squandered amid drunken celebrations. Yet some pirates, wiser or perhaps more cautious, sought to invest their spoils more strategically. To mask their illicit gains, many pirates channeled funds into legitimate ventures, buying plantations, establishing taverns, or even investing in merchant ships sailing under false identities. This blending of criminal and lawful enterprises made tracking pirate wealth exceedingly difficult for colonial authorities. These shadow economies also highlighted the Caribbean's remarkable diversity. Pirate communities were notably multi-ethnic and multicultural, comprising Africans, many former slaves who had seized their freedom, Europeans escaping oppression or seeking adventure, and indigenous peoples whose intricate knowledge of the region proved invaluable. Unlike their portrayal in Hollywood films, these pirates lived and worked side by side, forming alliances and partnerships that crossed racial and cultural divides. This vibrant, multi-ethnic society was truly ahead of its time, challenging the prevailing colonial narratives of racial superiority and rigid social hierarchies. Pirates created a dynamic, inclusive economy where competence, courage, and cunning mattered more than lineage or skin color. Yet, despite their progressive communities, pirates remained tied to ruthless exploitation and violence, an undeniable contradiction in their complex legacy. Thus, pirate shadow economies were sophisticated networks woven into the very fabric of Caribbean life, illuminating the pirates' dual roles as ruthless outlaws and savvy entrepreneurs. Far removed from Hollywood's simplified tales of buried chests and treasure maps, the real pirate marketplaces were bustling, diverse, and intricately interwoven into the broader colonial economy, revealing a deeper story of ambition, ingenuity, and survival. Chapter 6. The Empire Strikes Back. The War on Piracy. By the early 18th century, piracy had escalated from a regional nuisance into a major international crisis, posing a significant threat to global commerce and the very foundations of colonial empires. The wealthiest and most powerful nations, Britain, Spain, France, and the Netherlands, realized that unchecked piracy could disrupt trade routes, damage economies, and even undermine imperial authority. No longer able to tolerate such defiance, these empires mobilized significant resources to eradicate piracy once and for all. Naval patrols intensified dramatically, with powerful warships prowling Caribbean waters, hunting pirates relentlessly. Admirals and captains, previously preoccupied with national rivalries, now cooperated across colonial lines, temporarily uniting against a common enemy. Coastal towns that had once turned a blind eye to piracy faced increased pressure from authorities. Governors, who previously profited from pirate trade, were forced to choose sides. Many bowed to political pressures, implementing severe anti-piracy measures. Pardons were strategically employed as a carrot-and-stick approach to dismantle pirate solidarity. Authorities issued royal pardons, offering amnesty to pirates willing to abandon their lawless ways. While many accepted these deals, trading their freedom for safety, others saw pardons as a betrayal of their principles and fiercely resisted. Those who refused amnesty faced brutal and very public consequences designed explicitly to deter others from continuing pirate activities. Executions became public spectacles, grim warnings to any who dared defy imperial authority. The siege and fall of Nassau in 1718 epitomized this turning point. Once a bustling haven for pirates, Nassau was methodically dismantled by British naval forces. Its downfall, dramatically portrayed in the TV series Black Sails, 1914 to 1907, marked the symbolic end of piracy's golden era. The pirates who once celebrated their freedom in the vibrant taverns and bustling markets found themselves scattered, hunted, or imprisoned. Pirate flags no longer flew defiantly. Instead, they were captured and displayed as trophies of imperial triumph. As piracy's power reigned, governments intensified their campaigns further, deploying spies and informants, infiltrating pirate ranks, and spreading propaganda depicting pirates as violent criminals rather than freedom fighters or folk heroes. This psychological warfare was as critical as naval battles in dismantling piracy's mystique. The era culminated with high-profile public executions, meticulously staged to send powerful messages. In 1726, William Fly's execution in Boston symbolized the empire's unyielding stance. Fly, defiant until the end, famously admonished the crowd gathered around his gallows, urging better treatment for sailors if authorities wished to prevent future piracy. His words were prophetic, acknowledging piracy's root causes in cruelty, oppression, and desperation at sea. Thus ended the Golden Age, not in glorious battle or hidden treasures, but in systematic suppression, relentless pursuit, and brutal spectacle. The war against piracy demonstrated empire's determination to impose order at any cost, leaving behind a legacy as complex and ambiguous as piracy itself. Chapter 7. Legacy and Myth. Pirates immortalized. Why does piracy continue to captivate us, centuries after the Golden Age ended? Much of this enduring fascination lies in Hollywood's romanticized portrayals, transforming ruthless raiders into charismatic rebels and anti-heroes. Johnny Depp's whimsical portrayal of Captain Jack Sparrow in Disney's Pirates of the Caribbean exemplifies this phenomenon, blending humor, charm, and defiance in a character who personifies freedom from authority and societal constraints. Sparrow's irreverence and wit reflect the spirit of rebellion and adventure we admire, even though the real pirates' lives were far less glamorous. Yet, pirates were not solely Hollywood creations. Long before cinema immortalized them, pirates captivated imaginations through literature and folklore. Classic novels like Robert Louis Stevenson's Treasure Island established the enduring archetype of buried treasure. Maps marked with an X, and cunning pirates seeking fortune and freedom. These stories drew heavily from real pirate legends, reshaping brutal historical figures into complex, intriguing characters who exist in moral shades of gray. The allure of piracy lies in its symbolic power. Pirates embody universal themes of defiance against oppressive authority, the quest for freedom at any cost, and the seductive promise of adventure beyond ordinary lives. They remind us that morality can be fluid, and that perspectives shift heroes into villains, and villains into heroes, depending on who writes history. Blackbeard and Bonny, Calico Jack, and their comrades live on in collective memory, not just as criminals, but as icons of rebellion against an unjust and restrictive world. Pirate imagery continues to permeate modern culture. Flags bearing the skull and crossbones, the legendary Jolly Roger, have transcended piracy, symbolizing resistance, independence, and danger. Pirate myths infiltrate all forms of entertainment and culture, from theme parks and video games like Assassin's Creed 4, Black Flag, where players experience pirate life firsthand, to festivals and celebrations worldwide, keeping pirate lore vibrantly alive. Theme parks and tourist attractions draw millions seeking an imaginative taste of pirate adventures, proving our enduring fascination with their freedom-loving spirit. Even the annual International Talk Like a Pirate Day humorously highlights piracy's cultural influence, demonstrating its light-hearted yet powerful legacy. Yet beneath this romantic facade, piracy's darker truths persist. Brutality, exploitation, and violence formed the foundation of their fleeting freedom. Pirates were as complex and contradictory as the times they lived in, both heroes and villains shaped by desperation, ambition, and courage. Ultimately, pirates represented humanity's darkest impulses and brightest dreams, symbolizing rebellion, autonomy, and adventure. Their enduring legacy challenges us to reflect on our own definitions of morality, freedom, and heroism, ensuring they remain immortalized, intriguing, and deeply relevant, even centuries later. Thank you for sailing with us today. Don't forget to subscribe for more thrilling journeys through history's stormiest seas and greatest legends.